Welcome viewers to the series Exploring Careers in Data Analytics. My name is Josh Rosenstein, and I'm a member of the class of 2024 at Middlebury College. And I would like to introduce this episode's guest speaker. I'm joined today by Archer Newell of the class of 2016, who is a senior data analyst with Fivetran. Welcome, and thank you for joining us, Archer.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Archer, this series explores a number of different professional roles involving data analytics. Can you tell us a little bit about the work Fivetran does and your role as a senior data analyst?
Definitely. So Fivetran is a software that's an automated data pipeline tool. So what that means is Fivetran makes it really simple to move data from all kinds of different applications and databases into a centralized data warehouse. So companies tend to have a lot of data spread across different applications and systems, which makes it difficult to actually put that data to use. So analytics and data engineering teams are often working to kind of get all that data into a centralized place to actually analyze it, which can be challenging since they're then managing kind of all these different pipelines from these applications to the warehouse where they're actually going to do analytics. So where Fivetran comes in is Fivetran kind of has these built-in connections to all these different applications and allows you to set up those pipelines really quickly. And then Fivetran will also manage those pipelines long-term so that if something changes in your source data, like a column name or a data type, Fivetran kind of handles that change for you so that your whole process continues to run smoothly, which then frees up those data teams and analytics teams to not just be managing the pipes, but to actually be kind of spending their time putting that data to use once it's already in the final destination. So that's a little bit about what Fivetran does. My role as a senior data analyst, I am focused on operational data analytics. So I'm working to provide internal folks at Fivetran with reporting and also finished analysis so that they can make more informed business decisions, have a more complete picture of what's going on. And actually my team are the main users of those data sets that Fivetran loads into a data warehouse. So we're kind of taking all those tables that get loaded from those systems, combining that data into analytics ready data models that are used by teams across the company to do their jobs better, perform data analysis, track their progress to goals, that kind of thing.
That's awesome. So who might be some of the competitors for Fivetran, and how is Fivetran, different, and how are they positioned in the market?
Yeah, so there are other companies that offer automated data pipeline tools. And also, kind of interestingly, another main competitor might be companies that, and the way that most companies used to do this is actually building and maintaining those pipelines themselves. So they would kind of have their internal data engineers be writing that code to build and manage the pipeline. Where Fivetran differentiates itself, and as someone who's kind of been a user of both the build it yourself model and now Fivetran as an internal user, it's just so much simpler and easier to manage those pipelines when you have these kind of built-in integrations and the pipelines are being maintained by Fivetran. There were a lot of times where someone on our team would get an alarm in the middle of the night and have to wake up and go troubleshoot the pipeline, figure out what was wrong with it. And now, that just doesn't happen. It's all kind of managed by Fivetran. And it also allows anyone on our team, any analyst on our team who wants to access a new data set or a new table from an application to go set that up themselves within minutes. Whereas in the old model, we would have had to kind of try to get developer time, and it would just be a much more involved process to kind of set up a new connection to a data source. Fivetran lets you do that really easily.
Great. Could you talk a little bit more about specifically what are you using data analytics to do?
Sure. So within our analytics team, I am mainly focused on finance and revenue reporting. So building out the data models off of data sources that are focused on our revenue and sort of tracking performance in that way. To give kind of a concrete example, one model that I've been pretty involved in is our revenue attribution model. So Fivetran wanted to understand month over month when revenue changed, both on the whole or for any given customer, what was driving that change. So we built this model that takes information from a lot of different sources and is able to say for a given customer, or you can roll it up to a given department or roll it up to the company as a whole, how much of that revenue change was driven by new customers that we added, how much was driven by existing customers using the product more or less, how much of it was driven by that change we made in our pricing or the amount of discounts we're giving. So that was kind of one model that I've worked on the last 2 months that has really helped the business sort of dive in and understand what's going on.
Awesome. What do you find most interesting about your work?
What do I find most interesting? So it's kind of funny doing data analytics at a data company. It's a little meta, but it's very interesting to sort of be working at a company where data analysts like me are our main customers, or some of our main customers. So we do a lot of work with our product team, testing new features, testing, giving them feedback on the product itself and how they can improve it, things like that, to make analysts like me's life easier. It also means that everyone who works at Fivetran has at least some awareness of data and data analytics. So that makes them really good thought partners on coming up with analysis, different projects like that, because they sort of understand some about the industry.
Yeah, I feel like that's always nice to get to see the actual what your work is actually going towards, and then getting to interact with it. I guess on the flip side of that, what do you find most challenging with your work?
So Fivetran has been around for 10 years now, but we're still growing super rapidly. Everything's changing very quickly. And so being in that kind of fast-paced tech environment is definitely a challenge, because, there's a lot of work every time, the business makes a change. We're then having to make a lot of analytics changes to support that. I guess one example is we acquired another data company this fall. And so another project that we've been working on is sort of merging all of their data with all of our data and sort of fitting those pieces together. And it's been really interesting, but also challenging to work in that kind of rapidly changing environment.
Yeah, for sure. I guess changing subjects a little bit, and I know you touched upon it a little bit already, but who do you interact with most, like during your job? Is it customers and users? Is it other outside entities? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I'm mainly focused on our internal stakeholders within Fivetran. So the finance team right now is who I work with most closely. And I'm working with them to understand the needs of their department, and then work with them to figure out what data and what tools we can build to support that. So it's mainly internally focused and on finance, because that's the department I mainly support. But like I said, I also work closely with product and other teams on kind of special projects as well.
Great. Now, if you can almost look into the future a little bit, what would you say are the biggest challenges that are shaping the focus of your work going forward into the future?
One thing that I've seen change even in just the past few years is the expectation from the business around more real-time data. So when I first got started in analytics, it was okay to have the data set, refresh daily, and people would come in and see what happened yesterday. But now that expectations kind of changed. There's more expectation to be able to see what's happening today within that business day. So you're building systems and data pipelines and things like that can support more real-time refreshes and sort of be kept more up to date. So that's one thing I've seen change, and I'm sure we'll continue to improve going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you kind of answer my next question, which is what's an opportunity that you see with your work in the future? But besides, even though that is a challenge, I feel like there is an opportunity there. Is there anything else where you see other opportunities for your work in the future?
So one opportunity that I see is around implementing more software similar to Fivetran that can enable data teams to automate the pieces of their job that are not actually adding direct analytics value. So like Fivetran, for example, automates that data pipeline piece, makes it really easy to update data so that analytics teams can focus mainly on analytics. And I think there'll continue to be more technologies, more softwares that teams can implement that can help with other pieces of that, things that will help with data validation, other pieces of the analytics process that are not actually adding as much value to the business, our teams can continue to sort of automate so that we can focus on higher value activities.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing those insights. I guess I'm a little curious about your own experiences from Middlebury's campus to your career at Fivetran. So at Middlebury, you majored in environmental studies and geography. Can you tell us a little bit about the rest of your story?
Sure. So while at Mid, I had a range of different interests. I spent a lot of time doing social sciences courses, a lot of Spanish. But then I also kind of later in my academic career got more interested in technology and data. I worked in the media lab on campus, so was helping support a ton of different software in that role. And also, as I got further in my geography coursework specifically, I got to take a lot of GIS classes, which I absolutely loved. So working with GIS is not unlike other kinds of data analytics. You're fitting different data sets together. It's really detail oriented. You're paying a lot of attention to data types, and then you're ultimately using that data to tell a story visually. It's just, in the form of maps rather than a dashboard or, other data visualization. So I definitely got an interest in data and technology while at Middlebury, and then wanted something like that in my first gig out of college. And so where I ended up landing was in a customer success role at a tech company based in New Orleans. And this was actually, I thought, a really great first role because it gave me exposure to kind of a lot of different types of work. So it gave me the chance to work directly with customers, learn how to build relationships, run a phone call, kind of basic first job stuff like that was really good to learn. It also helped me learn a lot about the product and the technology that company was offering. So I was, working with customers long term as they implemented those solutions. So got kind of really in-depth experience there. And then finally, I was able to start doing a lot of the analytics for our customer success team. So the company I was at had a self-service analytics model where they published data sets that then any user at the company could go in and access those data sets and start building visualizations and dashboards themselves. And the tool we were using was called Power BI, but it's a visualization tool similar to Tableau and others like that. So I started building a lot of that analytics for our team and, got good at that, really enjoyed that, and eventually kind of hit a ceiling with what I could do with the self-service tools that were already available. So then started teaching myself SQL and working with the folks on our BI team more closely to kind of access even more data directly from the database. And, just kept learning more and more in that area and eventually transitioned to the BI team and started out working as an analyst, then as an analytics manager, managing a small team of analysts based in our India office. And then eventually switched over to the BI engineering side, which is most similar, I think, to what I'm doing now, which is actually building data pipelines, building those data sets that then other people would use as the self-service data sets. So kind of that, a slight level more abstract is kind of doing actual data modeling for the company. And that's what kind of landed me in the role I'm in now at Fivetran.
Awesome. It's always great to hear, how Mid alums started at Mid and got to where they are now. And it's not always a direct path. It's usually kind of circular and like very winding, but it's always great to hear that. What do you talked about how a lot of those GIS skills were super important. Do you think that was the most important in helping get your first job, or do you think it was something else, maybe something you learned at Middlebury or something outside of Middlebury?
I think GIS is definitely huge. And then another one for me was that media lab job that I mentioned, actually. So in the media lab on any given day, some people were coming in and asking questions about one of dozens of softwares that were available on those big iMacs in the media lab. And some of them I was more familiar with than others. And you never knew what you were going to get on any given day. So that kind of made me pretty good at navigating documentation, navigating online support forums, things like that, to sort of take a technology question that I maybe didn't always know the answer to and figure out an answer and kind of work closely with people to figure that out. And I think that kind of confidence in learning and picking up new tools is something that really helped me in my first job in just getting up to speed quickly, learning all these analytics tools, and eventually kind of setting off on the career path that I'm on now.
Awesome. So what would you say a typical data science career path looks like? And like, did you follow one, or is it kind of different from what you did?
I think there are a lot of different paths people can take. I've talked some about more the internal analytics focused paths where you're kind of supporting others in the business internally. And I'd say that's a pretty common path. Another one that some folks on my team have followed is more external analytics. So something like, working in consulting, or maybe even a sales role where you're providing data to folks. And I've had a number of coworkers come to analytics through that role, which, can sometimes be higher pressure, pretty intense because you're working directly for external clients, but could also give you a chance to work on a lot of different projects and subject matter if you're like transitioning between clients often. So that's another route I've seen. But I can't say there's like one typical.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of people, come to it.
One thing I noticed that you didn't mention is you didn't say anything about going to graduate school or any advanced degrees. Is that pretty common in a data science career, or do a lot of people go to graduate school?
It's a mix. Some people do, some people don't. I had the opportunity to pick up both those kind of technical analytics skills and also a lot of analytics experience while on the job. But not all companies are set up with that self-service model. So another way you could kind of get that practical experience is by doing some sort of analytics or data science masters, other advanced programs, and getting that experience that way.
What is next for you professionally if you had to, kind of look down the road a little bit?
In the near term, I'm definitely hoping to continue to grow with Fivetran, improve my technical skills, continue to work on more interesting challenges as this company scales and grows. We're growing super quickly, which is accompanied by a lot of interesting opportunities to grow and learn internally. So that's what's up next.
Awesome. So all of that was super interesting, super helpful. Thank you for sharing some of your experiences. So given those experiences and what you know now, what advice would you give to current students on how to best prepare themselves for entry points into this career field, and also just advice in general?
Sure. I'd say for general advice, trying lots of things is, something Middlebury is built for, but definitely helped me a lot in landing where I'm at. I came into college more interested in social science. That was what I was naturally drawn to, and I still really enjoyed it. But by exposing myself to some of the more quantitative parts, even within social sciences, like statistics and GIS, I was able to figure out this whole new area that I was really interested in, and eventual career path. So just trying new subjects and new areas early and often is the best advice I can give.
Yeah. So you were an environmental science and geography major, which, when someone first looks at it, they might think, hey, that doesn't really make sense. How'd she major in that and end up where she is now? Would you say, or what academic background or major would you say is most suited for a role like yours, if there is one?
I guess I can hopefully be proof that there's not just one. Like, you can come from a lot of different areas. But for folks who've kind of been in this since undergrad or did a more focused advanced degree program, a lot of those are, either analytics, they're specific data analytics programs. So some folks have done those. Data science is pretty common, or, a math or statistics program. If you're kind of singularly focused on data analytics, this is what I want to do. That's maybe a more traditional path. But you can do a lot of different things and still end up working in analytics.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's kind of how it is in a lot of fields too.
Yeah, totally.
What if you had to list a few skills that you think are, essential for anyone pursuing a career in data analytics? What would those skills be?
So role to role, year to year, I've seen the technologies that I am working with day to day change. So I think an ability and a confidence in picking up new technologies, new tools is absolutely essential. That would be the most important thing. But for my role specifically, SQL, writing SQL queries is pretty crucial. And also, just general attention to detail, being able to validate data, understand if kind of work on data cleaning, things like that, which sort of to me comes back to attention to detail is pretty important.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a benefit of a liberal arts education that, Middlebury gives all of us. So that's a plus.
Yeah, definitely.
What types of experiences would you say lend themselves to an entry-level point in this career field?
So, I mean, the academic backgrounds that I mentioned before, those types of courses would give you exposure to some of the technical skills that will be relevant and experience analyzing data. I think you can also get that in social science. Like I definitely took some survey analysis and other types of statistical courses within social sciences that were relevant. And yeah, I think but I was also able to speak to in my interview processes experiences that weren't directly, within the tech industry or within data analytics. So I think there's a lot of different ways you can sort of hone a narrative around your experience, even if it doesn't directly fit into like the data analytics, data science box.
What would you suggest is the best way for students to find opportunities in this field? Whether it's internship opportunities, job opportunities.
Yeah. Most recently, I've been sort of in some of the more traditional resources, places like LinkedIn or other public job boards like that. I also recall in some of my earlier interview processes, I tapped into some of the Middlebury resources. There's a Facebook page where alumni will post opportunities. I've gotten some interviews through there and other kind of Middlebury network opportunities as well. So I think a combination of using all the resources available, those traditional job boards and sort of your network within Middlebury or other networks you're a part of are the best ways to find opportunities.
If you just had to give some advice to Middlebury students, whether it's, a place to visit or a class to take, what would that be for all Middlebury students?
All Middlebury students. I took my first computer science class my senior year, I think senior spring, and wish I'd taken it way earlier because I really enjoyed it and would have probably continued to just try more. But so yeah, if that's of interest to you at all, don't wait, take it early. And then other advice, swim when it's warm. Go swim in all the swimming holes.
That's always a good one. Yeah, there's lots of places around here, so that's perfect.
Yeah, there's so many.
All right. Well, Archer, thank you so much for taking some time with us to help students prepare for their first career destinations.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time. It was great speaking with you.
This concludes this episode within the series Exploring Careers in Data Analytics. In closing, I want to encourage viewers to tune in to get career perspectives and advice from a number of professionals in a broad variety of organizations in our other episodes in this series. I also want to encourage you to tune in to other MIDDVantage series, which can be accessed through the Events and Programs tab on the CCI website. Thank you again for watching.